Hi folks, this is video 54 and it's a little discussion about my experiences in working in a peat bog. The peat bog job. After working at the heavy equipment school, I got a job opening up a peat bog. That would be clearing dead trees, stumps, and sod off until the peat is exposed in a large drained swamp. Nick operated a case loader and I ran a John Deere 350 dozer with an all-way blade. I tipped the dead trees first and cleared off any stumps hidden in the tall grass. Then I would peel a strip of sod. I pushed my debris about halfway across the property and Nick would carry it off with the loader. Both machines had 32-inch wide track pads for flotation on the wet peat. Getting a full weekend was tough. If it rained, we couldn't get on for a day or two. It was a decent job at the time. We started about 6, fueled up, lubed the tracks and pivots, and worked the rest of the day. It was interesting. I would tip a larger tree and the whole tree, roots and all, would tip. I would then use the tip of the blade extended to finish pushing the tree out of the hole that was created by the root base. Sometimes the hole left by the removal of the roots was rather deep. I learned how to use the all-way blade like a kayak paddle. The blade was controlled by a T-handle. By twisting the T-handle, the blade rocked side to side and the tips extended and retracted back and forth. Doing it that way kept the blade center high, thus not trapping any mud between the blade and tractor when backing up. The blade had extensions on it to match the width of the wider tracks and longer reach than normal. It worked every time. There were 2 drainage ditches. One fed the other. The big one went around the back of the property and was about 10 to 12 feet deep. We stayed away from that one. Lots of snakes. Big ones. The smaller feed ditch was about 4 feet deep or so. We left a hedge border about 10 feet wide so we didn't collapse the sides. One day when we pulled in one morning, our boss was on the dozer and he was leveling the feeder ditch. Why? Who knows? It rained hard the next day. We couldn't work. When we did get on, there appeared a large water spot right in the middle, about 4 to 6 inches deep. Nick and I checked it out. It looked similar to quicksand to us. We decided it best to stay away from it. I pushed my loads around it. Nick was delayed for some reason that I can't recall now. Anyway, I had built up a nice pile about the size of a 2-story house. The boss came out and told me that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. He told me to put some of the pile into the wet spot and push in a straight line. I put that whole pile in the wet spot and only raised the surface about 4 to 6 inches. Oh well, it wasn't my machine. I pushed a full blade of sod in a straight line right over the wet spot. I made it across. I backed straight up and got in the middle of the spot and the dozer sunk to the top of the tracks. My machine was facing the wrong way to use the winch. We had to round up some loose cable and chains. We chained Nick's loader to a nice big tree. With the combination of cable and chains, we used his winch to pull the dozer out. When we started to pull, the darn tree started to come out. We stopped pulling on that one. We then looked for a smaller tree on more solid ground. It held. It took all the rest of the day to get the dozer out and cleaned off. So much for saving time by traveling in a straight line in that situation. The next day was even more fun. The next morning the boss was already out on the bog. He was running a string from one post to another. He had me take a stick and make 2 rows of holes 3 feet apart, with the holes alternated side to side and 4 feet deep. The boss and Nick took off somewhere. When they got back, they had 2 cases of dynamite. It was 60%. That means the makeup is 60% nitroglycerin and 40% sawdust. We use 40% nitro on a pipeline to just crack and lift stone. We don't want to blow it halfway across the county. I was curious to see what was going to happen. It seems the boss decided we needed a drainage ditch. Imagine that. We capped and put a stick in every hole, then wired up. We ran wires well off the bog. We raised the loader bucket and put it in a full dump position. We got under the bucket. When we touched off all that nitro, it was some sight for sure. The peat went up and up and up and up, and then just hung there for a while. A strange sight. When it came down, we ended up with a ditch about 4 feet wide and 2 feet deep. I only worked there a short time after. One week we worked 59 hours and got paid for 40. I quit. I knew most of the people in the heavy equipment field, and I let everybody know what they did to us pay-wise. They couldn't get anyone to work for them. The boss actually came to me and offered me $1 an hour more, but I'd already had a job on the pipeline crew. I wouldn't have worked for him anyhow. So that concludes my experience in the peat bog. All the best, folks.